Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh Ba'ashem El Shah Ba'ashem B'chakudash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and shalom and salutation to all you sincere Akim, and a few sisters that are listening across the four winds. Of course, I'm Kasamagan from the DC camp, coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'ashem El Shah Ba'ashem B'chakudash, the feet of the elect. Now, this is going to be, I'm going to call this learn of me. It goes back to the Matthews 11:29 when Yahweh Shai said to learn of him. So I was as I was just reading something basically captured my attention, and I did a little bit of research, and I just want to share this with with the hopeful elect of Yasha Allah, so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, 144,000 and one third. Let's go right into it. This is John chapter 12, verse 1. As you know, if you read John chapter 11, it's about the resurrection of Lazarus, one of the individuals really dear to Yahweh Shai. It was three individuals outside of the 12 that were really dear to him. Lazarus, Martha, and Mary Magdalene. So now let's get into this right quick. It says, this is John 12:1. It says, then Yahweh Shai, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Yahweh Shai and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. All right. Which we all know that. That was the symbolism, the main symbolism of that. As you know, the ointment was, ointment is meant for burial. So it was basically symbolism of the fact that Yahweh Shai, after that miracle that he did with Lazarus, that's when the chants and the thoughts of him, that's when his life really started to be in danger. That's when the wicked scribes and the Pharisees amped up on the will to kill him, to murder him. All right, let's use the proper word, murder him. Because people are always talking about, well, the Lord was killed. Really, the Lord was murdered. All right, he was murdered. So now, damn, I got this damn CNN shit. Anyway, Salakia. It says, verse 3. It says, then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Yahweh Shai and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? Then he said, not that he cared. This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag and bared what was put therein. Right. Judas Iscariot, that scumbag, had he was basically he was one of the treasury. He was, I guess he might have been the main treasury, but he was definitely a treasury. And he was taking the money that was given for the treasury for for Yahweh Shai and the 12. He was taking the money and then doing his own thing on the side with it and not telling anybody. So when you do research, you realize that's what he was doing. So Judas was, he was a scumbag. It's more to that guy. So, anyways, it says, verse 7. It says, then said Yahweh Shai, let her alone. Let her alone. Against the day of my burying has she kept this. Right. So that was some symbolism. All right, because Yahweh Shai knew right then when he performed that massive miracle, because a lot of Israelites got basically awaken and believe off of that. And that's when that was the moment that you know, death was basically a matter of just time at that point when this miracle was done. Um, it says, verse 8, it says, "For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always." Verse 9, "Much people of the Jews therefore knew that he was there, and they came not for Yahushua's sake only, but that they might see Lazarus also, whom he had raised from the dead." Verse 10, "But the chief priests consulted that they might put Lazarus also to death, because that by reason of him, many of the Jews went away and believed on Yahushua." So at this point, you got a bounty of Yahushua and Lazarus' death. You got a bounty, the wicked scribes and Pharisees, which would wicked leaders of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians at the time. So they put a bounty basically on Yahushua's head, and they put a bounty on Lazarus' head as well. So the man is dead. He gets brought back from the dead, and they're like, "Well, we gotta kill him again." So this is the type of So when you dealing with those souls that are back here in reincarnation, this is the type of spirit that they have. So don't be fooled. These guys are really vicious, man. They are really, within themselves, they're really something else. Now the point I want to make, I wanted to go back to verse 3, right? I want to focus on the ointment. There's also another reason why that particular ointment, the spikenard, was used. All right, it says verse 3. It says, "And they took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Yahushua." So I went out and looked spikenard. All right, spikenard Jerusalem. Spikenard. It says, whatever that scientific word is, it says, "is a flowering plant of the Valerian family that grows in the Himalayas. It is a source of a type of intensely aromatic amber-colored essential oil, spikenard." All right, so I was all right, cool. Let's look at the properties. So now it says, "What is spikenard in the Bible? The plant species mentioned in the Bible is believed to be the Nardo Starkis." Oh man, whatever that is. It says, "which is described as a plant producing a much prized fragrant oil used as a perfume, a sedative, and a medicinal herb." So you talking about sedative, and I was like, okay, sedative. So I kept looking, and it says the herb affects the three major nerve plexuses: cardiac, solar, and sacral. And it says spikenard can relax the brain and cardiovascular system, acting as a strong hypnotic, cerebral sedative, and a cardiovascular relaxant. So it makes you basically chill. If you're going through a whole lot, basically you got all types of, you have you going through depression because your thoughts are kind of all over the place. You fear something, and your mind is kind of boggled and shit like that. So that it kind of makes you chill and relax, so you won't focus on bad things. And the reason why that particular one was used by Martha, it was not by coincidence, is because when you go back, because that's why this lesson is entitled "Learn of Me." You got to understand Yahushua. That's why Paul we spoke about relatability. Yahushua is he is the King of Kings, but relatable as hell. I mean, that's the reason why we one of the main reasons why we believe in him. Check this out. This is John 12:20, subtitle, "Greeks seeks Yahushua. And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast." All right, those Greeks were Negroes that were raised in some of them born, but some of them raised in Greece. But they knew that their nationality went back to Israel, so they would always come back to keep the Passover in Jerusalem. All right. So it says, verse 21, "The same came therefore to Philip, which was of Bethsaida of Galilee, and desired him, saying, Sir, we would see Yahushua. Philip cometh and telleth Andrew." Again, Andrew and Philip tell Yahushua. "And Yahushua answered them, saying," this is red letter at this point, right? Check this out. That's what he said. "And Yahushua answered them, saying, The hour is come that the Son of Man should be glorified. Well, that glorification he's talking about is really death. It's just people don't understand, but that glorification was really his death. He's going to explain. It says, "Verily, verily, I say unto you, except the corn of wheat fall into the ground and die," he's referring to himself, "it abideth alone. But if it die, it bringeth forth much fruit." All right. So think about it. I mean, listen. It says, "He that loveth his life shall lose it, and he that hateth his life in this world shall keep it unto life eternal." Says the Lord is speaking this. You got to understand he's going into an internal mental battle, where his flesh is basically trying to buck against his duty and what he knows will happen and has to happen, because Yahweh Shai was a man. Now he was a special man, but we're gonna bring precepts to show that he was a man, and he dealt with temptations and internal mental battles. So that's why when we going through what we're going through, it ain't nothing different than our master and than our king, right? It says for 26, "If any man serve me, let him follow me, and where I am, there shall also my servant be. If any man serve me, him will my Father honor." Now this is the point. And look at the subtitle. Yahweh Shah foretells his death. Verse 27. Verse 27. "Now is my soul troubled." See that? See Yahweh Shah's mind. When he's talking about soul, he's talking about his thoughts is troubled. He knew what the duty was. He knew that the minute Lazarus was raised, it would really start up, his final days at that particular time. All right. The bounty was gonna be on his head. It says "Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour. For this cause came out unto this hour," right? Because he's going into eternal battle as he's speaking to the men. They don't really, at this point, the disciples are not apostles. They kind of get it, but they don't fully understand. So he's really mostly speaking to himself in this as he's going to an internal battle, but yet also speaking to us. And once you get to a particular level, when you fully are in the battle, then you would understand that type of speech where you speak when you teach others, but at the same time you also like confirming your own soul in what you're teaching. That's when you really truly in the battle. You know what I'm saying? You really truly in the truth. So that's why he said, "My soul is troubled." All right. So it says, "Father, glorify thy name." Verse 28, "Father, glorify thy name." No, that's it. The point is at 27. It says, "But for this cause came I unto this hour." Right. So he understood the duty over everything. But his mind was troubled. His thoughts was troubled. That's why it wasn't a coincidence that when you look at the spikenard, and you look at the properties of the spikenard. Another thing right here, it says, what is the spiritual meaning of spikenard? It says, the verse says, "Mary anointed Yahweh's feet with spikenard," also called nard in some versions. One can only guess at its intended use, but I find it significant that this oil has many known sedative and calming properties. All right. So why? Because Yahweh's mind was, he was, it was rough upstairs, because he knew what was coming down the pipe. It says, from a spiritual aspect, it is believed to inspire devotion and to add to inner peace. All right, just make peace with the fact that, man, this is your destiny. You just gotta do what you gotta do. And that makes Yahweh Shai extremely relatable. I mean, that's the reason why he said, "My sheep hear my voice," and the servant is not better than the master. It's not different than the master. All right, because he was trouble, and that's why I would trouble. All right, this is Hebrews chapter 2, verse 9, subtitle Yahweh Shai briefly humble. But we see Yahweh Shai, who was made a little lower than the angels for the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, that he, by the grace of the Most High, should taste death for every man. All right, every Israelite man. That's what it's talking about. When it says every man, it's talking about every Israelite man. It says, for it became him, for whom are all things, and by whom are all things, in bringing many sons into glory, to make the captain of their salvation perfect through sufferings. All right. For both he that sanctified and they who are sanctified are all of one. All right. So we We know what that one means. We're not Yahweh Shai, but what's that one? It's the same thing when Yahweh Shai said he's one with the Father, meaning it's the same mindset, and we're going through the same thing. It says, for which cause he is not ashamed to call them brethren. All right. So that's talking about the elect, the 1/3, beginning with the 144. It says, saying, I will declare thy name unto my brethren. In the midst of the church, I will sing praise unto thee. And again, I will put my trust in him. And again, behold, I and the children which the Most High has given me. For as much then as the children are partakers of flesh and blood, he also himself likewise took part of the same, that through death he might destroy him that had the power of death, that is the devil. Right? Because there's certain things that Yahweh feared. And that's the reason why he didn't want that cup, because the thing that he feared was actually what he was gonna have to go through. And that's why he was a little shook for a minute. But at some point, this is the Lord. All right, this is the Lord. And that humility is what makes him extremely relatable. That's why you're like, okay, you worship Yahweh Shai, man, because you see. He's not some being that just doesn't understand the plight that you're going through. All right. He's a prodigy, but he's still a prodigy that had to come down here and get his what handed to him. So that's important. That's important to know that. Verse 16, for verily he took not unto him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham. All right. Wherefore, in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to the Most High, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. For in that he himself has suffered being tempted, he is able to succor them that are tempted. All right. Again, relatability. All right. So this is Romans 8:3. It says, for what the law could not do, and that it was weak through the flesh, the Most High sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh, and for sin condemned sin in the flesh, right? So he didn't sin. Because we know, listen, even when you're talking about the whole anointing, you can go into some, what Martha, how Mary felt about the Lord. But, listen, if you already know, but how Shai he didn't do nothing. Because you got idiots out here in the world talking about, well, he ain't touch Mary. You know what I'm saying? Now he might have been tempted, but it doesn't matter. He didn't touch her, because the duty took priority. He had to be a man, he had to be a man in the flesh that wouldn't sin and be unclean. So he had to do that. You know what I'm saying? That's the sacrifice that he knew had to be made. But of course the world is gonna deny. That's fine. It's only for the elect. It's only for the elect. Only the elect are gonna believe. Right? Because some will believe and some won't believe. And that's fine. You don't believe, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? This is Hebrew. Well, I read that. Let me close out with Matthew 11:28. It says, come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Well, whatever you go through, man, you're like, damn, man, is the Lord really feel me? Like, is he feeling this pain I'm feeling? Well, you better believe he is, because he was there. It was so bad that, it was certain particular ointments that like spikenard that was used, because his soul was troubled, because he knew impending death was coming. So this is something I want to share right quick with the hopeful elect. Barakatah Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahshua Shem Hakwadash, double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to all you sincere Akims. All right, shalom.